Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis.
Hey, welcome to the show, Leadership is Changing. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Leaders everywhere confront similar obstacles because people are people, but everywhere you go, leaders are overwhelmed, disrupted, and under pressure. They run from email to email, meeting to meeting. Many leaders are not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. So perhaps the show is taking our listeners' leadership to another level by finding their balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. I believe we don't have enough effective leaders in the world today, and if we can get the leaders to step up and lead change, then they can inspire real change. Hey listeners, it's now time to adapt in our fast-moving world. Welcome to today's Ask Denis episode. I want to welcome you to this episode because it's a freestyle kind of episode that we do once a week. Every week, I'll interview two guests somewhere around the world, and then I'll also do this Ask Denis freestyle episode. It's based on questions that I'm asked by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, insights, and experiences from working with leaders around the globe. Hey, if you haven't already given us a review or a rating on the show, if you're really enjoying this podcast, we would love your help. We'd love you to go on to, if you listen to this on Apple, and put a review and a rating. If it's a 5-star, put a 5-star. Put a review as well and submit that. We would love to hear that from you. And also, if you're on Spotify, they've now released the ability to go and do a rating on a show, and we'd love to get your rating as well. The importance of doing these ratings and reviews is that it will actually help the visibility and the impact of the actual show. It will mean that more and more people will get to see the show. It will be in the charts and so forth. And, we're coming on 2 years in the next 2 or 3 months, and coming up to 2 years of this episode, of this podcast, and it's going really well. And I want to thank you for all the help and support and comments coming through, and the downloads, of course. And I know that a lot of people are getting a huge amount of value from the actual podcast and the episodes that are being shared. All right, team, let's get into today's episode. Now, I'm being asked quite often around people that I'm working with or people I'm talking to and so forth. And that is in the scenario whereby they've got a new leader. The question is, what should I do with my new leader? And I keep saying, what do you mean by this? An example could be people have a brand new leader who's been promoted internally to become their new team leader or department and organization or new CEO kind of scenario, right? Then the other one is that they've been hired into the organization to be the new leader of the team of the organization. People aren't sure what they should do with people. And they go, well, I've got a new leader, so should I start panicking? Should I start worrying right now? What do you mean? Well, should I go out there and start looking for a new job? Some of them are trying too hard to impress the new boss. Others freak out. Oh, my new boss doesn't know me. Do they like me? And then that tends to happen. Others, well, they're just laid back. Oh, well, nothing I can do about it. We'll just see what happens. It's interesting to see people's different responses as they're thinking about it. But this is one thing I definitely say to people when they ask me that question or they start talking to me about that. The thing that I always say to them is, relax, slow down. No need to panic. No need to make rash decisions right now. You see, the new leader, they've started their new role. They're trying to get their feet under the desk. In fact, they've only just arrived. And then you're already wanting to know what's going to happen? They don't even know what's happening in their business yet. They've probably got a 30, 60, and 90-day plan, especially if they've been working with me. They're definitely going to have that. The thing that I would say to people is that the leader's probably only just trying to understand or look out for or, get a grasp around what their role is, the team or people in the team they have today, what's the size of it, what's the skills, the capabilities, what do they do? In fact, what business are we in? What services or products that we offer? Who are my peers? Who is my leadership above me? What is the dynamics, the culture within the organization? Who are the players? What projects, initiatives, deadlines, budgets, P&L, responsibilities that I have. So there's a lot for a leader to understand. But you know what? A lot of people are going, yeah, but come on, tell me, do I have a job? What was my job? Anything going to change? Are we going to restructure? They don't know. They have only been there for 5 minutes. So relax. Step back. So this is what I'm going to say to you. If you've been thinking about this, or you know other people who do come across this or think like this at times, there are a few things that I would actually say to them. Number one, breathe. Remember to breathe. You know what? And if you breathe, then you tend to get oxygen to your brain. And when you get that oxygen to your brain, you start to calm down. And those who are the calmest are the ones that are in control. Number two, stop, step back, be calm, and now start to think through things about what you're wanting to do. When there's change, there's opportunity. Now, that's easy for me to say, not always easy to do, especially when you're in the midst of change and it's impacting you a lot. Number three, there's one thing I've got to say to you, and that is you have a business to run still. It doesn't matter if you've got a new leader or not. You've got a business to run. So remember, over-deliver. That business still needs to go forward and still needs to move forward. But make sure that you and your team are doing really well and that you're delivering and that you're not having the wrong attention being pointed at you. What do I mean by that? If you're making mistakes, things aren't going well, that's all cool. But the thing is, better for you and the team to be doing things really well and getting things over the line. Number four, don't go in with an attitude all the time just to talk about business and this and that. No, because what actually happens is that there's something else that needs to happen, which is number five. Remember to build rapport with the new leader. So number four was, don't always go in there with all about the business. Number five is, remember that they're a human being as well and that you should build rapport with them. You see, they could be overwhelmed with all the change and everything coming into a new organization. So find some common ground. It's really amazing when you start to see people who will go and find some common ground with another person and then how they start to relate to each other. When it isn't there and you haven't got that common ground, it can be a little bit sticky at first, but so try and work at it. Now, be real about it. Be authentic. Don't try and make something up and say, oh, this and that. If it's not true, then don't say it. Make sure you're being authentic with the other person because that's going to help as well. Number six, here we go. Understand their vision, where they see things going, where they want it to go. But it might be a little bit early for that one, right? But the thing is, a lot of leaders do have a vision. Number seven, talk about what your team does and is achieving at the moment. Maybe what it's there for. In other words, these are our roles. This is what we're responsible for. These are the things that we're working on today. And this is what we're achieving, the results that we're seeing. Number eight, it's going to go back to what I said before. Keep delivering and over-deliver. So number eight is very similar to number three. Number three was, remember, you've got a business to run, so over-deliver or deliver. Number eight is keep delivering and over-delivering. What am I getting at? If you are delivering and doing well, things will go well. So just keep going. Does that mean that you're promised another role? No. But as you're in a better position than other people. But remember, you've got businesses to run. You've still got a service and a product to provide to people out there. And you remember to keep going in that space. Show them that you and your team are in control. And that everything's in good hands with you and your team. Because you see, if you can show the actions and the results, as I said before, that is going to speak a lot louder than just words. Listeners, if there's any of you that need help or you and your organization need help right now, if you're going through change and you want the leaders to understand how to go through the change and how to lead the change, then reach out to me. I've got something that I want to share with you because I'm sharing this with other organizations and it's going really well. And, I've been done this for years, many, many years, where I help leaders understand that they can go through change themselves, but they also need to lead the change. And what does leading change mean? Hence why my company is called Leading Change Partners. Also, Leadership is Changing is the podcast. So it's all related to that, right? So if you and your organization need help, whether it's coaching, whether it's a workshop, whether it's some workshops, whatever it is, if your organization needs some work around culture, strategy, I can come in and facilitate some events. Feel free to reach out to me. Just remember, if you haven't already done a review and a rating, we would love to see you do that, whether you're on Apple or Spotify. It's going to really, really help the show. Sit back now and start to think about what you want to do with your brand new leader if you have a new leader. Hey listeners, what we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Change is incredibly scary, especially with the unknown and unfamiliar territory. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing. Look out for the episodes as they're being released. Download them, have a listen, put a review and a rating. Feel free to share them with your friends, your family, and your network. Hey, if there's any feedback you'd like to give me about the show, or if there's a question you have for the Ask Denis freestyle episode, then send me an email, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. Hey, listeners, it's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.